If everyone will direct their attention to the screen, I will review the procedures the Commission will be following for the evening's public hearings. The public hearing will be opened. Staff will make their presentation. The Planning Commission may ask clarifying questions on the staff presentation. The applicants will make their presentation and respond to clarifying questions from commissioners. They will then have 10 minutes for their presentation. The public testimony period will then be opened. A time limit of 3 minutes is allotted to each speaker. All those wanting to speak, having done so, the public testimony period will then be closed. The applicant and staff will then have the opportunity to respond to issues or questions raised. The commissioners will then discuss the item and then vote on it. The public hearing will be closed. Certain planning decisions, commission decisions are final, but may be appealed to the City Council. You can find additional information on Planning Commission procedures on the back of tonight's agenda. I'll now open the public hearing on agenda item number 1. First, have any commissioners had any ex parte communications or conversations on this item? Commissioner Mars.
Yes, I visited the site.
Great. And Commissioner Means?
Yes, I also visited the site.
Okay. Commissioner Lafferty?
I'm familiar with the site, and I looked it up on Google Maps.
Okay. And Commissioner Stein?
Visited the site.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Huber?
Yeah, visited the site.
Okay. Commissioner Spellico? Right. I have visited the site and I'm familiar with it. Mr. Lardy, would you please introduce this item?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioners. Here to give the staff presentation for the Carlsbad by the Sea Summer House is Jason Goff, Senior Planner.
Thank you, Mr. Lardy. Chairman, members of the Commission, good evening. The subject of tonight's discussion is regarding a request for approval to consolidate 5 lots into one for the development of a 35,721 square foot multi-level professional care facility use with 19 memory care beds and 23 professional care beds developed and operated by the Carlsbad by the Sea retirement community. The subject site consists of 5 legal undeveloped parcels totaling 0.62 acres located south of Beach Avenue between Garfield Street and Ocean Street. Topographically, the site descends gently from Garfield Street in a westerly direction towards Ocean Street. The site is currently fenced for security and consists entirely of H&P disturbed lands. Public parking exists along the project's frontage with Ocean Street, Beach Avenue, and Garfield Street. A private parking lot for the Beach Terrace Inn adjoins the site to the south. There is a public beach access provided from Ocean Street directly across from the project site. And the property is zoned multifamily residential with a beach area overlay, and the site is located within the Mello-2 segment of the local coastal program. There are 3 permits associated with tonight's project: a tentative track map, a conditional use permit, and a coastal development permit. Approval of a tentative track map is necessary to consolidate these 5 legal parcels into one parcel so as to accommodate the development footprint of the newly proposed building. Approval of a conditional use permit is required for the professional care facility use where located within the R3 zone. All findings to support the use, similar to the existing Carlsbad by the Sea retirement community, can be made and are included in Exhibit 1 of the staff report. Approval of a coastal development permit is required because the project site is located within the coastal zone. Here's the site of the proposed building as situated on the 0.62 acre site. The new building is set back 20 feet from both Garfield and Ocean Street and is set back 10 feet from both Beach Avenue and the interior property line to the south. Garfield Street, Ocean Street, and Beach Avenue are all proposed to receive new curb, gutter, sidewalk, and landscape improvements along each project frontage. The project will be providing its off-street parking within a subterranean parking garage of approximately 16,704 square feet as shown here on this slide. This level will include 30 vehicle parking spaces where only 19 are required and storage for up to 21 bicycles. 2 elevator cabs and a stair tower will provide pedestrian access to and from the parking garage through all floor levels. Vehicular access is provided from Ocean Street via a down ramp located along the south side of the proposed building. Considered the memory care level and consisting of approximately 14,447 square feet, Level 1, as shown here on this slide, includes 19 licensed memory care beds and is situated at grade level with Ocean Street. Primary pedestrian access to the memory care level will be provided from Ocean Street. Each proposed bedroom generally consists of a single bed and a bathroom, each totaling approximately 308 square feet. All bedrooms exit into two corridors leading to a centralized common area for living, dining, and recreational activities, or onto one of two outdoor garden areas. Meals will be provided from the existing nearby adjacent Carlsbad by the Sea retirement community. Level 2 consists of approximately 14,115 square feet and includes 16 licensed residential professional care beds within 10 units. Primary pedestrian access to Level 2 is provided from Garfield Street. There are 4 one-bedroom units with a den and 6 two-bedroom units. Unit sizes range from approximately 992 square feet to 1,303 square feet. Each unit includes a kitchen, dining, living area, 1 or 2 bathrooms, and a private balcony overlooking the adjacent street or private yard area fronting Garfield Street. All units are accessed via centralized lobby and circulation corridor. Lastly, Level 3 consists of approximately 7,160 square feet and includes 7 licensed residential professional care beds within 5 units. Primary pedestrian access to Level 3 is provided from Garfield Street via the Level 2 lobby. There's 1 one-bedroom unit, 2 one-bedroom units with a den, and 2 two-bedroom units with a den. These units all range in size from approximately 816 square feet to 1,527 square feet. Each unit includes a kitchen, dining, living area, and 1 or 2 bathrooms. Level 3 also includes a roof terrace overlooking Ocean Street towards the ocean. The rooftop terrace includes both private and common areas with landscaping. In accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act and their guidelines, the city planner has determined that the project qualified for an exemption pursuant to Section 15332, known as infill development projects. On February 7th, 2024, a notice of intended decision regarding the environmental determination was advertised and posted on the city's website, and an email was distributed to interested individuals. No comment letters or appeals were received during the noticing period. Consistent with Chapter 2154 of the Carlsbad Municipal Code, the city planner's written decision is final. In conclusion, the project was analyzed for consistency with the city's general plan, its local coastal program, and all required city codes, policies, and standards, including the California Environmental Quality Act. The staff report and resolution that is before the Commission tonight contains all the analysis and findings to support the recommendation. As such, we are recommending the Commission adopt the resolution as specified in the staff report. This concludes my presentation. However, before moving on, I should point out that representatives from Carlsbad by the Sea are here and available for any questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to thank all the letters and emails we've received from many of you here tonight. Commissioners, are there any clarifying questions of staff? Commissioner Mars.
Yes, thank you for the presentation, Mr. Goff. It was interesting, you said there's only 19 parking places required, but they did 30. Was that just determined based on what they felt their needs were for the facility?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lafferty.
So, does this new residential facility add to or contribute to our allocation for RENA numbers for our housing element?
Commissioner Lafferty, members of the Commission, we do not consider these dwelling units, so they do not directly add to our regional housing needs allocation numbers as housing units produced. However, when we do a housing element, we also need to look at what other types of housing are provided, and this could potentially fill some of those, that analysis when we do our next housing element as an alternative housing type. Similarly, we look at things like veterans housing and other things that could help support our housing type. So numerically, no, but qualitatively, yes, it could help us meet our housing goals.
So let's draw back on that just a minute. So right now, basically, this is defined as a personal care facility under our municipal code, correct? Section 2104-295. And that goes back to commercial living units, which are defined in our municipal code 214093. And that excludes them from inclusionary housing requirements. So I'm trying to understand because the drawings themselves actually state that they show the state occupancy code defined as R2.1, which is residential memory care and independent living. So the inclusionary housing regulation that we have says any residential development is mandatorily required to provide inclusionary housing, but there's this caveat on page on the 6th D6 that says a commercial living unit is separately defined. So my concern with this is, are we actually creating a constraint regarding HUD, for the California Department of Housing and Community Development, and how that, so we're defining this as a commercial use and a professional care facility, but that's not really how the building code is defined. So does the city trump the state or override the state in defining this as housing?
Well, there's two different things that are here. Our zoning ordinance, similar to a lot of jurisdictions' zoning ordinances, define what a residential unit is, and then they define certain other types of housing. In our zoning ordinance, we have a definition of professional care facility. That was the reference that you had. And when this application first came in, we evaluated it. We took a tour of the existing facility to see how its operation and determined that it met the definition of professional care facility. Because of that carried forward where there was not a density requirement specifically applied to the project. However, under our zoning ordinance, professional care facility is an allowed use with the permits that are out here and proposed and applied for. So that was the determination that it met the qualifications for professional care facility. We've reviewed those. We even reviewed those fairly recently with definitions of state law and their guidance on the different types of housing. And we believe we are consistent with all of those. We had made some changes, I believe, last April that helped bring some of our other group quarter type housing definitions and compliance, and this one was not changed. Related to the building code, that is a separate standard, and there's separate requirements related to occupancy for it, and so they are going to be treated occupancy-wise, looking at the appropriate standard, and we're consistently treating these as not dwelling units in our zoning ordinance and our housing element in consistency with our general plan. You are correct that does mean that the inclusionary housing ordinance does not apply because it defines them as a commercial unit at that point. So unless there was some sort of other fee established by the city for types of non-housing units, it's similar to a hotel, which would not pay for inclusionary housing fees, or office buildings that don't pay inclusionary housing fees because there's not a fee linked to them directly.
So ultimately, the concern with approving this conditional use permit and the combining of the existing residential lots that are on there, five lots, is that we'll be losing units in our residential housing count. So this is why I'm concerned that if we consistently define this as a commercial unit and professional care facility when the California Department of Housing is actually trying to limit restraints and promote senior housing, I'm concerned that we're losing as a city twofold. We're losing not only counts for our allocation for our housing element, but we're actually also losing the potential of a for-profit organization to help defer some of these costs that we have as a city to include other opportunities for inclusionary housing. So I'm a little concerned with this because I am not clear still if our definitions are consistent with the state's definition of what housing should be, residential housing.
We've reviewed our definitions as recently as last year, and we believe they are all consistent with the state regulations and requirements. A couple other things just to share with the commission. First, we've talked a lot over the years about no net loss requirements and loss of housing units. These are vacant lots, so there are a number of laws that would apply if there were existing housing units on the site, and essentially would require that those housing units be replaced. Because it is vacant, those laws do not apply. This site is not in our regional housing needs allocation in our inventory, and so while we cannot count it and take credit when these units are built, we're also not losing anything in our inventory for our compliance with the housing element. And then there's some overall laws that are restrictive on government imposed restrictions on loss of units. So, for example, we could not rezone this from residential to commercial without making that up somewhere else, but those are only applied to government-added restrictions. And in this case, we're reacting to the private applicant that has submitted something that is consistent with a conditional use permit and other permits with our zoning ordinance. So I realize those are nuances and it is technical, but that is our interpretation and review of this application and consistency with housing laws. And I would ask if City Attorney has anything additional she'd like to add on this.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Eric was just explaining. I think when we talk about the different definitions and whether or not they're consistent, we can't give a broad statement saying they're consistent across the board, because there are different definitions for different laws. So they vary depending on what you're talking about. But for example, our inclusionary housing ordinance, we did review that, and then I think it is helpful if you look at, let me pull that back up, the definition for a commercial living unit, which is what exempts this from the inclusionary housing. And one of the key elements there is that it's providing assistance or services that are provided in conjunction with the living unit. And I think that's one of the features that distinguishes this from a dwelling unit under our inclusionary housing ordinance. Of course, it's going to be a different definition under different laws, but for purposes of the inclusionary housing ordinance, at least, that's how that one works.
I appreciate the definition. I am quite concerned, though, that it does actually constrain us as defined by the California Department of Housing and Community Development to be able to not include these in our, especially in our RENA numbers, but also, you know, because we have other facilities like city-built facilities that could be included in our RENA numbers, and this particular one cannot be because of these two definitions in our municipal code. So I think that there's a little bit of a disconnect here because it seems to me that we, you know, collecting a fee or not collecting a fee, we should be able to include this type of alternative housing in our RENA numbers right now to be able to help satisfy some of the other concerns that we have. Ideally, we could collect inclusionary housing fees from this developer, but I think that there is a disconnect between what the state's actually asking for and what our definitions are constraining. So I am concerned with that, and I think it could be difficult to justify the combined lots because we're losing residential. Anyway, that's, I think, the line of questioning for now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sabelico.
I just want to thank Commissioner Lafferty for bringing those questions. I think it probably doesn't have any bearing on our decision tonight, but these questions are likely to reoccur, so it's important that we get answers to them. I had 3 questions, and I think you answered 2 of them, Eric, but just to confirm, this would not be considered a down zoning because it's not in our housing inventory, so we're not losing any units according to our housing element. Is that right?
It's not in our housing inventory, so there's one set of laws that apply to that. We also don't consider it a down zone or a governmental regulation because it's not an action we are taking.
Okay. And the second clarification is this isn't considered a dwelling unit or a residential housing unit or either one of those things because of our municipal code, so because of our zoning code, not because of the state's laws?
That is correct.
Okay. So can we recommend a change to our municipal code, either, maybe at the next meeting or a future meeting, so that we can get credit? Because, that's one of our jobs is to recommend changes to our zoning code, and we should get credit. People are going to live in these facilities, and Commissioner Lafferty is right. We need to make sure our city is in the best position it can be legally on our housing goals. So can we do that?
That could be a recommendation from the commission, either as part of this item or we do have our planning commission work program coming up in the next agenda item, so that could be something for consideration for that topic.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from any commissioners? All right. Would the applicant like to make a presentation? Please state your name, and you'll have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. I'm very excited about this opportunity to speak before you today. And now that I know I have 10 minutes, not 3, I will try to talk a little slower. My name is Paula Diggerness, and I am the Executive Director of Carlsbad by the Sea Retirement Community. And I'm here to express my support for Carlsbad by the Sea Summer House. We are not merely a residential community for older adults. We are a place where residents can receive the support and care they need to age in place comfortably, safely, and with respect and dignity. We are a welcoming, friendly community filled with culture, experience, and individuality. What we are missing, though, is the ability to provide dementia care. Over 60 residents have moved out of Carlsbad by the Sea in the past 8.5 years due to a dementia diagnosis. With the proposed summer house building, we will have the ability to provide the front porch dementia care program. What makes our summer house special is that we have taken the best of the Alzheimer's Association research and education and elevated it with person-centered, relationship-based approach we call Connections. Connections recognizes that the nature and quality of relationships are central to the health and care of individuals and can be achieved when all participants appreciate the importance of their relationship with each other. We believe that by incorporating the 6 senses of caring relationships, which are security, continuity, belonging, purpose, achievement, and significance, into all that we do, we better serve not only our residents, but the caregivers who provide care to the residents, our residents' families, responsible parties, and the greater community of Carlsbad. This is a collaborative and respectful approach that creates an environment where all voices are important, heard, and addressed. Having a successful, reputable, high-quality senior living and memory care community will, number 1, meet community needs with quality care and support through a service that can address the needs of its aging residents and those living with memory loss. Residents receive personalized attention and professional care that may not be available in other housing options. Number 2, support families. Our services will ease the burden on family members who may struggle to provide the necessary care at home, and it offers peace of mind knowing that their loved ones are in a safe and nurturing environment. Number 3, job creation. Staff will be needed 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. These new jobs to Carlsbad will be needed in medical staffing, caregivers, hospitality, facilities, administrative, and support areas. Number 4, community involvement. Carlsbad by the Sea engages with the local community through partnerships, sponsorships, and events. For example, we sponsor a senior women's basketball league, which practices at Pine Avenue Community Center. Our men's shed group recently built props for New Village Arts Theater. We have a close connection with St. Michael's by the Sea Episcopal Church, our local schools, and libraries. These are just a few of the examples where our interaction fosters a sense of inclusivity, support, bridging generational gaps, and enriching the lives of the residents in the greater community. Number 5, enhancing the city's reputation. A well-run senior living and memory care community adds to Carlsbad's reputation as a caring and inclusive city. In conclusion, this project represents a modern approach to senior living, one that prioritizes residents' health, comfort, and independence, and provides substantial benefits to our community. Please endorse this project. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your excellent presentation. Commissioners, are there any clarifying comments of this applicant? Commissioner Means.
Question for you. In regard to the memory care facility, you have 19 beds. Now, is that a long-term memory care where if an individual living at Carlsbad by the Sea moved into, because of necessity, into the new facility for memory care, would that person, depending upon the length of time, is there a term limit? In other words, is it temporary moving into the memory care, or is that long-term when that person moves into that facility?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner Means. It is as long as that resident needs to live there. There's no time frame on it. That's the continuum of care. So more than likely, residents who move into the main building or the building on Grand or on Oceanfront, should one of them or one of their spouses need a memory care, then they would be able to transfer over to that area. Or possibly people from the community would be able to move in, and they can stay there as long as they are able. So it's very possible that a person with dementia might end up having a terminal diagnosis and go on hospice and be able to stay there until the end. So there is no time frame, just as long as we're able to meet their needs and care for them.
Second question for you. In regard to the memory care again, I noticed that there is no, in the memory care area, kitchen facilities for preparation of food, and it indicated in the report that that type of food would be brought from the main facility over to the summer house. So could you provide to me a little bit of information regarding how that decision was decided?
Yes. And we were just talking with our corporate culinary director today about that. So how we will operate that is the residents in memory care actually have choices of what they want to order off of a menu. And that menu will be the same as what residents in the other areas of the community have, along with a variety of items that are always available. And so they'll be ordering what they're choosing, and then we will prepare it at the main kitchen, and then we bring it over to this building to an area of the common area where we'll have the appropriate heating elements and areas, steam tables, prep tables for us to bring the food over, and then we'll serve it to them in the dining room. And then the other thing is, though, we'll also have a stove and probably a turbo chef and refrigerator and those things in the area of memory care, because as part of the programming, it's important to have those smells and senses. So fresh baked bread and cookies and those types of items are important to the programming of a dementia unit. So we'll be able to have that aspect also.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Hubinger.
Thanks for that excellent presentation. Just a real quick question. So when do you expect to be at like 100% capacity?
Tomorrow.
Yes, I figured. Okay. So you already have it pretty well booked up, huh?
Yeah. And we have sister communities here in San Diego County, and overall, I would say in general, there is a need for memory care units regardless across the county and the state.
Commissioner Stein?
Yes, first of all, I want to say excellent presentation. I believe a facility like this is very much needed in our area. More of a technical land use planning issue. I've observed that parking's a real challenge in this area, particularly in the summertime when people are going to the beach. It's hard to find a parking space. Okay, so I'm concerned that the construction there, you have subterranean parking that, not that you're going to get somebody going to the beach. That's not what that's for. It's for people that are, I assume it's for people who are going to be working there or visiting there. And
live there.
And live there. There would be some people who live there would have private cars?
On the second and third floor.
Oh, okay. I could understand that. 30 vehicle parking spaces. I understand the requirement is only 19, and you've exceeded that substantially. That still doesn't seem like a lot of vehicle parking, particularly with a 24/7, 365 operation. And you mentioned about job creation. That's great. I just want to make sure, ma'am, that with this facility that we have adequate parking for residents, the ones that have cars, for employees, and for visitors there. Can you comment on that, please?
Right now, that by what we have with our current underground parking for the main building, Oceanfront and Grand, we're doing fine, and we actually have plenty of spaces available for visitors and extra spaces available for employees in our main building. Currently, don't let the word out.
All right.
But so I think 30 spaces based on also when I say 24/7, 365, the amount of people each shift is not that great of staff. Mm-hmm. So the 4 to 5 spaces that we may need for the staff still leaves plenty of parking available for the residents who live on that second and third floor for them to have a car. And typically residents only have one car, even if they're a couple.
Okay. At any given time, how many employees would be working at this facility?
Off the top of my head, about at any given time, 6.
Oh, okay.
5 to 7.
5 to 7, well, 6 on average.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so for example, in the overnight time, there would be 2 people.
Okay. I see. Okay. I just want to make sure that we haven't boxed ourselves in and what very scarce parking we do have on the street is not going to be taken up by people who are there, either residents, staff, or visitors. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me you've thought that through quite a bit, right? And your existing facility, you said, has some parking that you could use for overflow, in effect?
Yes. Yes.
Good, thank you.
Any comments? Commissioner Lafferty.
Thanks a lot. So you mentioned sister communities. Is Carlsbad by the Sea the only one that's here in Carlsbad? That's the only
Correct.
one that, okay.
Yes.
And so this dementia facility that you're building is new to this area and new to the community of sister communities, or do you have other facilities like this in other cities?
We're part of the Front Porch overall umbrella, and there is a community called Wesley Palms in San Diego, one called Casa de Mañana in La Jolla, and Frederica Manor in Chula Vista. And Frederica Manor and Wesley Palms both have memory care, but Casa de Mañana in La Jolla does not.
Okay. When those were permitted, if you have any understanding of that, were they considered residential and part of the city of San Diego's housing element?
I do not know, but we could find out.
We're trying to meet a need.
Sure.
As a community, we obviously support this effort to meet this need in our community, but we also know that we have some definitions that right now seem to conflict, and so I'm trying to understand if they do conflict or if this is standard protocol, because right now the drawings do say that they're residential use. So that's all I'm trying to get to with this inquiry. The other question I have, looking at the elevations that were presented to us, and also looking at the findings in our the resolution that we're looking at, we're trying to ensure the compatibility of the project with the surrounding community. You're in that beautiful building right on the 101. That's that old. Do you know the history of that old building right on the 101?
I was going to say, yeah, we do.
Can you tell us as a commission about that one building?
I was going to say, Roberta, would you like to come?
Yeah.
Because you were more a part of it than I was.
We are going back quite a few years, but as I recall, 25 or 30 years ago, it was a beautiful old hotel.
I'm sorry, could you also state your name for the record?
Yeah, Roberta Jacobson, and I'm a project consultant and a recently retired president of Front Porch Communities. And so it was a beautiful old hotel. And when the building was rebuilt, we were required to maintain primarily the design features that had been evident in the hotel, albeit we were able to bring it down. But the design elements that you see there today came from the old hotel. Yeah,
The facade is still quite intact and very beautiful.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
So that leads to my next line of questioning with this particular building. You're directly kitty corner from our McGee house, which is right in McGee Park. And also in the historic preservation, they've had several conversations across the street next door about the Victor condos, also being a historic building that was mimicking the context of the McGee house, and having a conversation, the Victor condos having that conversation as well in the 1980s to be able to create some kind of contextual relationship. So my concern with the elevations that are shown on this is there's a lot of trees sort of covering up some of the elevations, which is always, from an architect's standpoint, that's always a bad sign, because that means that there's not a lot of development happening on that elevation. And I'm concerned that the elevations showing the rock, showing certain things that are not really colored in the neighborhood, that what I understand to surround that area to be, these colors and the facade design seems a little bit less in keeping with the surrounding community than what I'm hoping to see from this really robust preservation of such a beautiful building on the 101.
We have two of our architects here who can
Great.
probably best respond to that question.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And as you're coming up, please also state your name for the record.
Yeah, my name is Diego Lastres. I was part of the design team with Cunningham on this building. I appreciate your comments. I kind of share some of your thoughts. But to be clear on this building, what we took as a reference was more of the architecture that happens at the St. Michael's Church, and more of a mid-century architecture. And then we thought it's a historical architectural theme that was appropriate for the neighborhood, and it has a little bit of a coastal feel to it. We brought those materials that we're certainly not hiding with any trees, as you suggest, but they are part of the design as well. So, but yeah, that was the thinking behind it.
Right?
I understand. Architects are architects, right? We all like different things.
So it's always a little concerning, but thanks, Diego. I appreciate it. I just wanted to clarify. It's a good-looking design, but like I say, we've had a lot of conversations about the McGee House and the Victor condos in relationship to each other because of the fact that it's a historic park. It overlooks the ocean. It's very significant, and there's been a development in that area, and so it's been very concerning. So. Although I like the mid-century, obviously St. Michael's is our one and only Albert Fry building in the city of Carlsbad. So it's a really important structure, and they're trying very hard to negotiate with the owners to be able to be part of our historic record for that newer structure, not just the old structure that's already on the record. So I just think the rock element was the thing that was a stumbling block to me. So I'm wondering if that could be modified. The only other question I have for the developer is this affiliated with a religious organization?
Front Porch Retirement Communities and Services is a not-for-profit 501c3 community benefit corporation. So it's not directly related to a religious organization. 501c3 community benefit.
Because I know the building department has, not the building department, the building code has special requirements when it comes to religious organizations that do not apply to you, is what you're basically saying. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions of the applicant by any other commissioners? Good. Let's now open public testimony. Minutes clerk, how many speaker slips do we have?
We have 4 speaker slips and 31 cards turned in support of the project. For the record, I'll read those names first.
Thank you.
And I apologize if I don't say the names correctly. M.L. Auburn, Karen Bishop, Mike Burkle, Timothy Casey, Yo-Yi Chang, Tom Gardner, Gail Dietrich, Peggy Evans, Marilyn Gardner, Penny Held, Kevin Hartman, Roberta Jacobson, Lily Kammerer, Dave and Jane Kreitzman, Arthur Liggins, Eloise Liggins, Diego Lasters, Leo Nikora, Kathy Primnak, Bill Primnak, Marion Reed, Mary Yonder Reith, John Sanders, Alice Spring, Carol Sanders, Catherine Stoll, Craig Sumner, Sandra Sean Sweeney, Joe Vortman, Ken Vortman, and an anonymous Carlsbad by the Sea resident. You like that last one?
Thank you for all your community involvement. Would you call the first speakers, please?
Yes, will the first speaker, Jack Cummings, please come to the podium? And then I'll read the following speakers, and if you don't mind lining up behind or underneath the clock, that would be very helpful. Jeff Sienko, Bill Wyron, Gerald Anderson.
Thank you. As our first
These are
speaker,
all my neighbors, so I know all these names.
Sir, could you wait?
It's wonderful to have them here.
Sir,
I'm going to start.
Could you wait a minute, please?
Oh.
I want to explain the procedure.
Oh, okay.
Let me explain the Commission's procedures for testimony. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to make their comments. To help speakers stay within the time limit, the minutes clerk will activate the lighted timer. As I mentioned previously, a green light means speak, yellow means you have 1 minute, and the blinking red light means your time has expired. Thank you, sir. Now, would you state your name and address for the record?
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you all for your public service being here. We know you're all citizens and giving of your time. I'm Jack Cumming, and for the last 17 years, I've been aging at 2855 Carlsbad Boulevard, and you may have noticed that I stumble a little bit. We all are getting older, and all of you are getting older too, so you may join us at one day, and it would be nice if we could have this. We need this project. We really need it. I think of Jane Gerhardt, who was the first person I encountered who had to leave because her memory slipped. She didn't understand what happened. She didn't understand why she had to leave her home. She didn't understand why her friends couldn't stay her friends. She wound up in Vista in a place that I don't think you would want to be. So I hope that we can bring this wonderful facility to our village area. We need this. You may need it, and you'd be very welcome when you come to join us, which you may do. Now, I know you all have in front of you a sign that says very much what that says up there. This project is both popular and right. So this is something you can vote with a clear conscience without worrying. I don't understand all those technicalities. They're marvelous that they're in the codes and things. But the fact of the matter is we're human beings, we're getting older, and some of us slip and fall and need some help and added support. Please give it to us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Bill Warren, and I was born a little over 88 years ago, and I'm in California, and then I spent 30 years in the Air Force. There are many in our facility that are retired military. And by and large, who are we? I've been there 5 years. We have essentially people who served our nation, either in the military or in a civilian capacity as teachers, as nurses. There's no really wealthy people there. They are people that worked hard, served our country, and saved their money. And now we're there, and we need being taken care of. That's the long and the short of it. I'll answer any questions. By the way, I was the first lawyer for Space Command when it was formed, and if you're interested to know what a space lawyer does, let me know, and I can get you a copy of my book.
Thank you. Who's
Jeff
next speaker?
Cienko.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Cienko, Chief Operating Officer for Front Porch, and I have absolutely no intention of speaking tonight, so I don't know how I got on the list. But thank you very much. I'm fully in support of the project, and maybe I need my dementia care as well, so thank you.
Gerald Anderson.
Thank you. My name is Jerry Anderson. I live at Carlsbad by the Sea. I'm the president of the Resident Association, and I represent the nearly 200 people that live there. And our residents moved there for one of two reasons, both reasons actually: location in the village of Carlsbad and the reputation of CBTS as one of the premier retirement communities in Southern California. Now, I'm reading my notes here. You stole my thunder. Historically, CBTS represents the heart of Carlsbad. The original California Carlsbad Mineral Springs Hotel was built in 1929 on property owned by Captain John Frazier. We all know who that is. The hotel was frequented by many celebrities over the years. This became a retirement home in 1957. Rent was $235 a month per person, including medical. The current building was constructed in 1996 to represent the view of the original building. Rents have gone up higher. We offer independent and assisted living as well as skilled nursing for our community, which includes couples, singles, siblings, and even parents and children, which is hard to imagine that we would have that, but several cases, along with lasting friendships among the residents. People move to CBTS with the vision of continuity through life's transitions. Memory care is the final piece of the puzzle that is critically needed so families and friends do not have to be separated. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
There are no other speakers? Good. We'll now close public testimony. Would the applicant like to respond to anything you've heard? No? Okay. Do any commissioners have any further questions for the applicant or staff? Commissioner Means.
Yeah, question for staff. My question is in regard to memory care. I had noticed in looking at the plans that for memory care, there's often times when ambulance service is required. And in doing so, I was looking at the approach in which they, with an emergency vehicle, can come to the facility. And it seems to be somewhat limited, but from the standpoint of city requirements, And given the type of facility it is there, I assume it meets all the requirements, but yet at the same time, is the design adequate?
For us, there was no requirements for ambulatory services, but I will let the architect and Paula answer any questions as it relates to how their operations work.
Excellent. Thank you.
And if you would state your name again, sir, for the record.
Yeah, my name is Diego Lastres, architect, part of the design team there. Per code, we're required to provide a drop-off area. That's per building code. So that way, I would assume is the correct area for an ambulance to stop. And then additionally, the building has an access point at the Garfield level, street level. So there's another point of access there in addition to the emergency exit. So there is plenty of access for ambulance personnel to get into the building.
So is that access on street or is it actually on
the drop-off
property?
area is off street. Yes, on Ocean Street.
Was there consideration in having it be on site at the time of design?
On site, off street.
On site. That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Any commissioners have any other comments or questions of staff or the applicant? All right. Seeing none, let's now open commission discussion. Anyone want to go first? Commissioner Spellico?
Well, I want to thank all of you for coming here tonight. I was just chuckling before the meeting started that I didn't think this was going to be a controversial item, but you were all taking no chances with this one. So, and I think it has added to my understanding and for all of us up here to hear your public testimony. I want to thank you, Mr. Cumming, because there's an award for best public comment, and I'm going to nominate you for that. Really, I am. I recently lost my grandfather. He went to another facility where he lived for the last few months of his life. He suffered from Alzheimer's, and this is really important. The last few months when you're going through something like that, it's really important for you. It's really important for your family. It's traumatic to have to move and not know why. This is really beneficial for our city. It's really beneficial for our residents. And you're right, someday we might all be there. So hopefully it's a long way off for me. I'm really excited to support this project, so thank you.
Great. Commissioner Stein.
Yes, I also want to echo some of the thoughts of my colleague, Commissioner Sabelico. Yes, this is a project that's very much needed. I was particularly taken by the executive director's comments about the need for dementia care, having people who are in the existing facility then suffering some dementia and having no other place to go, and having a facility so close and part of the same facility, but it's just, a block away, it seemed to me. It was very, very close, I think is a tremendous asset. A personal story in my own family, my mother, the end of her life, was in an assisted care facility right here in Carlsbad. It was a large facility, and she suffered from dementia. And I can tell from personal experience what a blessing it was as she became more incapacitated, or dementia got worse, that we did not have to move her to another facility at another place. It was all within the same facility. It was a godsend. So I understand that's very, very important, and to offer this. And when you indicate, ma'am, Ms. Diggerness, that you're losing people because some of them tragically have been there for a while, and then onset of dementia, and you can't provide for them, that's terrible. And having a facility like this that can care for them, I think, is a marvelous idea. The only technical issue that I had, and I think you addressed it, was with regard to parking. I want to make sure, because has anybody tried to go to the beach in the summer down there and find a parking place? Good luck. I just wanted to make sure that we are not adding to an existing problem that this facility has nothing to do with, but it's still there. And I'm comfortable that it's far and away exceeding the minimum parking spaces, which are 19 with 30. And I was pleased to hear that some of the residents may actually have cars. So I was surprised, pleasantly surprised to hear that. I think this is a marvelous project. It's much needed. The technical issues we're here for, conditional use permit, coastal development plan. There's no coastal development issues here. There's access right on ocean. I was down there. You can walk to the beach from there. It's not compromising access at all, nor is it compromising views. The CUP issue, you're talking about impacts in the area. I think a well-designed project like this is not going to have any adverse impacts. I think it's going to have a positive impact on the community. So I wholeheartedly support this project.
Commissioner Means.
Yeah, I want to applaud all the residents and all the people in the audience this evening as well, coming out, taking your time. Probably you missed your dinner this evening because you're here, but hopefully the facility will hold some meals back for you when you return. I also applaud Front Porch in identifying this facility for memory care. I know it's very much needed. Fortunately, the property is available. How many years have the property been owned by the? A long time, okay. So you're finally being able to develop it. And I think, too, having that as an adjunct to the facility itself for the residents, I think its time is coming now, and I think it's excellent. Other thing, too, in regard to, and that's applaud the architects, I really do like the design of the facility. I think that you took advantage of the opportunities to have it not be obtrusive in its design, having it being a sloping terrain, being able to have, it appears to be one story on the ocean side, but yet on the Garfield side, it looks like two, but yet it's not overbearing. And I think it's consistent with the overall residential neighborhood as well as some commercial in that immediate area. So I think the design is compatible to that particular area itself. So I also approve and commend you for an ideal project, and I think it's much needed in Carlsbad. Thank you.
It's really not necessary, folks. Any other commissioners have any comments? Yeah, I'm sorry, Commissioner Lafferty.
The clapping got us a little nervous. Yeah, this is important work. We take this work very seriously. The Cunningham team is known for their. They have a very good reputation in San Diego for healthcare. So thank you for choosing such a great design team for that. So I'm going to poke holes in it just because I'm concerned. But one of the things I would recommend for the design, the city of Carlsbad has recently developed objective design standards for residential housing that actually has a mid-century modern component to it. Ask Jason or Eric for that design standard because it's for specifically the Village and Barrio Master Plan, but maybe there's some clues that help develop the facade as you get into the building, department and things like that. To maybe the objective design for the Village and Barrio Master Plan was specifically designed because of St. Michael's and because of other buildings in our community that do have that surrounding community context that we're kind of talking about. So that's really, I encourage you to kind of look at that. And Jason, if that was something you could provide to the design team, that would be hopefully just some opportunities to take some cues. It's not mandatory, but again, the planning department and the consultants worked very hard to try and capture some of the intent of our community with that standard. The housing allocation is an internal concern. I do feel that we are combining, potentially, nowadays we have our single family lots can have up to 4 units on top of these things. And so, obviously combining 5 or 6 lots becomes a concern. So, we're looking to make sure that we can meet these very difficult to come by RENA allocation numbers for our housing element. That's a state mandate. So that's why it is really helpful if you could tell us if these are being counted in other communities, because obviously our state is encouraging this, but our municipal code defines it differently. So, yeah. And actually it's just more of a trying to understand how we improve our local information to be able to obviously continue to house our seniors, which is what we're trying to do here. So obviously we're encouraging all of these things, but some of the connections we need to try to make. But we support this project, and thank you very much for going through this effort.
Any other comments? I too agree with I think the way the vote is going to run, as you can imagine. I think it's a great project. I was pleased to see this report, and I'm proud to think that a great city like ours will have such a project. Seeing no further discussion, may I have a motion on this item? Commissioner Means?
Yes, I move approval of the project per staff recommendation.
Right. And do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Mers. Thank you. A motion has been made by Commissioner Means and seconded by Commissioner Mers on the agenda item number 1. Please vote. The motion carries 7-0. Thank you all. I want to thank, we'll now close public hearing. I want to thank the staff and all you that have turned out for your comments. Thank you very much.